Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. Amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The first thing I just want to address is this is the first time I'm seeing these things, so I'm not contaminated, so don't worry. I don't know. Maybe it's for safety reasons, I'm not sure. But as the brother mentioned, my talk is about the Fitnah of the Dunya. And as our brother Nasir nicely and beautifully recited for us, the verses in Surah Hadid, where Allah mentions, اعلموا أنما الحياة الدنيا لعب ولهو وزينة وتفاخر بينكم وتكاثر في الأموال والأولاد. So Allah gives us a parable of what this dunya is. And today especially, can everyone hear me? Yes. Okay. Today especially, the dunya is something that is prioritized by a lot of youngsters from an early age, very early. And it's become a mindset for them, which they've built within themselves as a goal, when rather this is a means and a destination, as the Prophet told us, كن في الدنيا كأنك غريب أو عابر السبيل. Be in this world as a stranger, or someone who's on a journey, that we're only here for a moment. But people have made this dunya now into the goals, into the means. You only live once. Get that money. I only want to marry Elizabeth. Queen's head, that's all I'm after. These statements reoccur from the youngsters. So Allah gives us a parable of what the dunya is in this verse. And He says, "I'lamu," know that the hayat dunya is just la'ib. It's just play. All we do is just play. You know when a kid goes to a playground, you take him for an hour, 2 hours, he just goes there, plays until he gets tired and he's done? That's what the dunya is. It's just play. Lahu is just amusement. And zinatu wa tafakhuru baynakum is something of beautification, made to look beautiful. And then people compete in that. And we see this, especially when a person now, the importance of university, going to university. What's the means? Why are you going to university? To get a good job. Why are you getting a good job? To get good pay. Why you get good pay? To live a good life. So at the beginning, in our education system, is being put in our brains that the dunya is our goal. And that we are made to become workers. That your goal, you learn, spend 20 years of your life, majority of your youth, majority of your parents' money in becoming a employee for a company and then working there for another amount. You save that money. Once you've saved that money, you've reached the age now where either your health is deteriorating or that money is now going towards your kids, which you have. And you're putting that money towards them, who in return benefit from the wealth which you compiled and wasted majority of your time for. And then after that, death is what awaits. So this dunya, Allah gives us a parable that is just something which is a play, amusement, something beautification, and something which people just show off and compete. In amwal and awlad, in money and in children. So Allah, who's the creator of this universe, who is the founder and who has more rights to have ownership over it, is giving us the parable of what this is. That it's nothing. That it's just a moment. You talk to your friend, you have a laugh, and then that's it. That is the dunya. It goes like that. And also we see it in our bodies, that the human, he starts off weak, as Allah told us, that we're born weak. And then we reach an age where we become strong. And in that, we waste our time in other things if we don't benefit from it. And then from that, we go to a stage of being weak. So we start off as babies. Then we become teenagers up until 40. And then from then onwards, we're getting weaker and weaker and weaker. That is our life. And in that period of our strength, we're spending it in chasing the dunya, spending it in frivolous things which will perish. And then by the time the person realizes it, what does he say to himself? He said, I wish I could go back. I wish, like the poet said, that I wish I could go back and become young again, which is something impossible. Also, the Prophet ﷺ warned his companions about the dunya and how frivolous it is. Abu Ubaid ibn Jarrah radiallahu anhu, the Prophet sent him to Bahrain to collect the jizya. On his return, when he was coming back, the companions heard of his returning. So they all gathered around, and the Prophet recognized that they heard of the news that he was returning. In that moment, you have to understand, so the companions are all there gathering. Some wealth is going to be brought back. In this opportunity, the Prophet gives them an advice. He says, فَوَاللَّهِ مَا الْفَقْرَ أَخْشَى عَلَيْكُمْ وَلَكِنِّي أَخْشَى أَن تُبْسَطَ الدُّنْيَا عَلَيْكُمْ كَمَا بُسِطَتْ مَنْ كَانَ قَبْلَكُمْ فتنافسوها كما تنافسوها فتهلككم أهلكتهم. The Prophet is telling them that he's swearing by Allah, and the Prophet doesn't need to swear by Allah. That he doesn't fear for them poverty, but rather what he fears for the companions, and not just the companions, us as well, who are part of his ummah, that the dunya becomes open to us, becomes available to us, becomes accessible to us, which we see today at this time, especially living in the West. If you go back to the majority of our home countries, there's poverty which is stricken there. Or if you go to some of the Muslim lands, a majority of the Muslim lands, there's poverty there. So us living in the West, we are seeing the amount of wealth and the opportunities to gain that wealth. Just you knowing English itself, right now, is wealth itself, outside of the UK. And you will see that when other people are trying to learn the language which you was born into and which you learn, and they are willing to pay you, and you don't have a teaching degree in it, they are willing just to pay you, just for you to talk to them, have a conversation, for them to be able to learn from you English. I'm just giving you basics. That's just you, born in this country, knowing English, outside you've already got a job, without no degree. So the Prophet is warning us, and his companions, that he fears for us not poverty, but the dunya opening up and being available to us. Like it was available to the previous nations, and they competed in it. And they, had a competition. You got that car, I'm going to get this car. You got the iPhone 7, I'm going to get the iPhone 10. You got the Samsung, no, I'm going to get the Samsung S8. You got what? The latest Nike trainers, I'm going to get the latest ones that come out. Oh, there's new Jordans released every month, I'm going to get the next one. And he's got the latest, so we're all in competition. That's what the Prophet is warning us, until it destroys us. So the Prophet is not just warning his companions, but he's also warning us. And there's something important just to show you how available and how powerful these brands are. That recently Nike put out a hijab. Nike put out a hijab. And I honestly believe, I don't know of anyone, but I put this out there, and someone may tell me later on, you know what, you're right. Or someone out there, but I honestly believe that there was someone who didn't wear hijab. Now that Nike came out with a hijab, she wears it. Because Nike came out with it. And I honestly believe that if Nike came out with a qamis, you'll see a lot of brothers on the road wearing qamis with the Nike tape. So these brands have powerful influences over us to the extent that we may not notice it. And not only them, but sometimes, have you ever noticed, what is this brand? Like a brand randomly comes out of nowhere and it costs about £200. And you can't even pronounce the name. What is this? But what they do is they use the influence of people, because people, they have followers. And then from those followers, what they do is they advertise, and then from that, people are like, wow, you know what, he's wearing it, so I want to become like him, and then after that. So these brands are just using these famous people, you could say, as tools for us to compete in this dunya. Not only that, the brands we buy, or the products which we buy all have an expiry date. No one is buying anything to last forever. That shows you the reality of this dunya. That what we're buying, we're expecting something new to come out in replacement. And we're expecting what we have to die. So if we expect that for brands, and we expect that there's something new, I need to fulfill, then what are we truly filling ourselves with? Because you as a human being, you have your physical side and you have your spiritual side. And if all day you're just filling your physical side, then the spiritual is just dying. And these brands will never, or these products will never ever fill that empty consumerism, as they call it, coming from capitalism. So there's a whole backdrop to all of this. But Allah has given us the insight previously that this world is something temporary, that we were put on this earth to worship Allah, and that we are put on this earth to put forward our good actions for a day where we cannot do no more actions, and we will be held account for the actions that we did. Also, the Prophet ﷺ, he used to seek refuge in his dua from poverty and from being someone rich, in the sense that the Prophet used to say, أعوذ بك من فتن الفقر ومن فتن الغنى. That the Prophet used to seek refuge from the fitna of poverty. Because when a person's poor, it's very tempting to take haram means. And we see this a lot, especially someone who comes out of prison, he has a criminal record, and now he can't go into finding a good paid job. And then not only that, the stigma of having his background is very difficult. So he's very tempted to go back to the old means of haram to get money due to the poverty, because he's got bills to pay. Or a father, he has kids, and the money he has right now, which is the job he's at, is not enough. And a friend says, you know what, I know a backdoor route which will get you good money. It's very tempting due to the severity of the poverty that the person's suffering. So the Prophet used to seek refuge from that. And he used to seek refuge from the richness, because being rich, it has its benefits, no doubt. But at the same time, it has its flaws. In the aspect of the fitna of being wealthy is that you get comfortable and you don't feel, when you're going through calamity, that's what makes a person remember Allah. Everyone's healthy right now. They don't count the blessing of their health. As it was said, health is like a crown on the healthy one, only the sick one can see. So when you're sick, then you realize the value of your health. When you're busy, then you realize the value of your free time. When you're old, then you realize the value of your youth. So these things are only seen at the end. So the person who's rich doesn't feel, you know what, I made this a lot of money, I made this. It was through me. I got a lot. I'm powerful. X, Y, and Z. And then from that, the person gains arrogance. And then from that, the person allows him to enter paths of sin. So the Prophet used to seek refuge from those two. Also, the Prophet ﷺ gave us a parable of what this dunya is. He mentions لو كانت الدنيا تعدل عند الله جناح بعوضة ما سقى كافرا منها شربة ماء. Narrated in Tirmidhi, that if this world had weight in the sight of Allah, then Allah would never feed a kafir, give him a drink of water. A kafir, if Allah viewed this world, if Allah gave the weight of this world like the wing of a mosquito. Everyone knows a mosquito, yeah? That wing, not just the mosquito, the wing of the mosquito. If Allah viewed the dunya that much, then Allah would never give a drink of water, a sip, to one who is a disbeliever in him. that is the one who created this universe, that it means nothing in the sight of Allah. And some Muslims you see today, they may say to themselves, you know what, look at so-and-so, he's not Muslim, and look at the life he's living. For example, someone may say, you know, look at Drake. Look at the life he's living. He's smiling all the time. He's got good living. It looks like he's having fun. But that's only apparent of what we see, brothers and sisters. It's the surface. Because behind that, there's trials and tribulations that you don't get to see. They only put out, just like in social media today, what you want them to see. I could portray that I'm a rich man on social media. I may know someone who owns a car, 2017 plate, or 2018 now. And I may say to him, can I just take a pic in front of it? Or let me take a pic in the seat. So I'll take a pic. And some people, they've told me, they collect pictures, they collect it, so they can post it throughout the week to show as if they're traveling, weekly. You know, as they say, catch flights, not feelings. As they're on the move, as if they're living that good life. So the Prophet is telling us that this world has no weight in the sight of Allah. So when a person sees that an individual is flourishing in this dunya, that shouldn't be a sign that Allah loves that individual. Because this world has no weight. A person could be the poorest of the poor. But wallahi, if he makes dua, it's accepted like that. And the person could have so much money, but it could be so distant from Allah. So the Prophet is informing us that the weight, so it's putting everything in perspective for us. That we know the value of this world. That I know. Now imagine a person who kills another person for this world. For something in this world. Would you kill someone for a wing of a fly or of a mosquito? You'd be crazy. That you're killing for less than that. So a person who's taking someone's life, or he's going to haram means, is doing it for something which has no value at all. So everything needs to be put in perspective, especially growing up, because the surroundings we're in is pushing this forward, the importance of this world. And you need to have value. In order to have value, you need to have respect. In order to have respect, you need to have wealth. In order to get married, to have the best girl, this and this and that, you need to have this. This dunya, you need to have it. But the Prophet is putting everything in perspective, in order for the believer. So when he's moving forward in his life, that things are placed in order. That when a person, good comes his way, money comes his way, it won't increase him in enjoyment. You know what, I got £100, I lost £100, it's all the same to me. I got £1 million, I lost £1 million, it's all the same to me. And that's how the Salaf were. That if income would come, it wouldn't increase them in any happiness. And when it would go, it would never make them sad. That's why they were able to give out so easily for the sake of Allah. When the Prophet was collecting the Abu Bakr, first of all, Umar said, today I'm going to beat Abu Bakr. I'm going to give half of my wealth to the Prophet. So he came with half. Then Abu Bakr came, and he came with everything. The Prophet asked him, what did you leave for your family? He said, I left Allah and His Messenger. He gave everything. What allowed him to give all of his wealth like that? To not have value for it, because everything was in perspective, it was in order. It was said to one of, they say, hukama, like the intellectuals, the smart ones. It was said, a man, he collected a lot of money today. So the man said to him, okay, has he collected days as well? Meaning, has he got days to give out that money? The man said no. So then he said that money doesn't mean anything. Because now, if you collect all that money and you die, who's going to benefit from it? Someone else. So your strength and effort and your youth and your time, which you wasted in collecting this money in this world, as soon as you die, it's going to be a fight for it. I get this much, I get that much. No. And we've seen it, or we've heard of it, that people fighting over inheritance. It's real stuff. Fighting, going to court over what their parents worked for. And the parents, what were they working for? For themselves probably. To use it, to have a good, retirement. Qaddar Allah, they died before they could spend it. And then what? Their kids are going to benefit from it. If they're not righteous, then what? They're not going to remember them at all. And they're going to spend that and waste it. And that money is your time and your effort. So be careful how you spend it. Also, the Prophet ﷺ gave us a parable of a person who looks for fame and the one who looks for the dunya, looks for wealth. The Prophet said that two hungry wolves. So the Prophet has given us a description. Two hungry wolves are let loose on a flock of herds of sheep. What destruction will they do? Two hungry wolves. A wolf by itself, it would mash up the place. It would destroy it. But they're hungry. So two of them, let loose, flock of sheep. They're going to demolish that place. Finish it off. So the Prophet gave a parable of two hungry wolves, let loose on a flock of sheep. And he gave the parable of a person who seeks fame and wealth. So the Prophet said that the Prophet said that the wolves being let loose and them destroying the place is lesser compared to a person who looks for wealth and who looks for fame. How it destroys his deen is lesser compared to how the wolves would destroy that flock and it would finish it off. Is more lesser than a person who now seeks fame and wealth, how it destroys his deen. And especially now, in this time of social media, that anyone can make it. Today he's nobody, and tomorrow he's on Sky News. They're asking about his video which he done, and they're saying, please talk to us. How did you make that noise? Or how did you make that joke that was so funny? Or wow. How did you make that trick? On news, it's newsworthy. So the person now, yesterday he was no one, and today he's someone. Through social media. And there are people who I've seen on social media that wallahi, he'll do anything. He'll go into a store and he'll start smoking. And he says, oh, look at me. And he's smoking in the store. And he gets security to come take him out. And then afterwards, when he gets arrested or whatever, he gets released. He said, look, man, no one can stop me. This and that. Trying to become what? Famous. Or a person, he goes into a supermarket, he starts throwing himself on the stuff. And he starts destroying the place. And he starts playing around. And this becomes a trend they try to set. And this has happened. People become famous of this stuff. Or a person, he becomes famous for mocking people. And he puts their picture on that side. And he starts insulting them and talking about them and ridiculing them. That's what he's known for. And that's what he's famous for. So people are going out of their way, trying to become famous. The Prophet said the one who's seeking fame and wealth destroys his deen more than those two wolves who are hungry, what they would do to the flock of sheep. Now, talking about wealth and how it can damage a person's deen and the fitna of it, a question may arise to a person, so shall I be poor then? Shall I not, aim to be rich? Shall I not aim to have money? This question was asked to Sufyan al-Thawri, rahimahullah. They said to him, أَيَكُونُ الرَّجُلُ زَاهِدًا وَيَكُونُ لَهُ مَالٍ. That a person can be a zahid, aesthetic, someone who's free from the dunya, but have with him wealth. They asked this question. He said, Na'am. But if he's tested, he's patient. And if he's given, he's grateful. So at times of test, how are you when your wealth decreases? When maybe your even phone, which is part of your wealth, breaks, which is a test for you, because that's your whole life on there. When that goes, or it's been stolen, or you lost it, how do you feel to yourself? Are you patient, or are you like, why me? Or are you like, let me actually go and steal from someone else and get another phone? What means do you take? So if the person is patient, when tested, and when given he's grateful, then it's no problem. Ibn Qayyim mentions that when wealth is in your hand and not in your heart, it will never harm you. That if the person keeps it in his hand and not in his heart, and he can give it whenever he wants, no problem at all. Whatever large amount, if there, whatever someone requests it from him, a brother's in need, the masajid need to raise something, he's like, I've got it, no problem at all. So the person, he has it in his hand and it's not in his heart, where he can't even give £1 from £1,000, example. He's got £1,000 on him. He doesn't even want to give £1. So Ibn Qayyim mentions that when wealth is in your hand and not in your heart, it won't affect you, even if you have a lot of it. But when wealth is in your heart and not in your hand, it will test and afflict the person with an affliction. Even if the person doesn't have any money, that the person will feel the pain of that wealth. He said, Wallahi, if I had that, it hurts. Because he has it in his heart. There's a need for it. Also, we have examples Allah mentioned in the Quran, and the Sunnah mentions it as well. Dawood alayhi salam and Sulaiman, that they were two prophets, but they were kings. So they were the most aesthetic of the dunya, meaning far away from it, but they were kings at the same time. And Sulaiman, his kingdom, no one ever had a kingdom like that. And under his control were the jinn. And under his control was the wind. He could make it come like that. It would go from there to there. So he had all of this kingdom and this greatness under his rulership, but he was still the most aesthetic. So it shows that a person can have the dunya, but it depends how it's attached to you and how you view it. Also, our Prophet ﷺ is an example. He was one who married. He got married. He had wealth. He did business. So the Prophet ﷺ was one who was involved in the dunya, who would work, who would get wealth, who had a family to provide for, but at the same time, he was the most aesthetic. And likewise Abu Bakr, and likewise Umar, and likewise Uthman, Ali, and so forth, like the rest of the companions. So we have examples of companions that were so rich that when their caravan used to come in to Medina, before it came in, the outskirts, that the floor would shake. Like just how this table, like the water. It would shake like that. That's how much wealth they had. But still, it never got to them. Also, Ayyub al-Sakhtiyani, he gives an example of zuhud in this dunya is three things, he says. The most beloved to Allah and the highest in the sight of Allah and has the greatest reward with Allah is zuhud in your ibadah. Meaning that you don't associate no partners with Allah. You don't associate a creation of Allah. Or you don't associate, or you don't put in the same category a idol, or you don't put in that category a statue, or any sort of these things. That a person is aesthetic in his worship, that is sincerely for the sake of Allah. And that's the highest level he mentions. And that's the most greatest in the sight of Allah. The second, which he mentions, is zuhud in what Allah prohibits. That a person stays away from what Allah made haram. That he keeps himself distant from it. Allah mentions, وَلَا تَقَرَبُوا zina. Don't come close to zina. Fornication. Don't come close to it. He didn't say don't do it. Don't come close to it. Don't allow yourself to have means to go and fall into this. As it was said one time by a brother, it was a very nice statement. He said, lose yourself in the khair. Because someone asked him a question. How can someone, for example, have their trousers above their ankle? This was the question I asked. I asked to the brother. And he said that the person should get all of his trousers, go to the tailor and cut it all at ankle. Cut it all to the ankle. All of his trousers. And when the person feels low in iman and he wants to put his trousers below his ankle, he can't because he doesn't have the option to, because all of his trousers are what? Above the ankle. So you should lose yourself in the good. So you don't allow yourself means to fall back into that evil. So that's the second type, to be aesthetic from that which Allah made haram. The third is to be aesthetic in what Allah permitted. Meaning, it's not haram, but the person takes the precautions of staying away from this out of piety, you could say. Meaning, going extreme in that which is permitted. Because going extreme in it will then eventually lead you to falling into the haram. Because remember, your enemy, Iblis, doesn't stop. He wants you and he's after you to not go to Jannah. And he will push to whatever level he can. He will try to push you to shirk. If he can't do that, he'll try to push you to innovation. If he can't do that, he'll try to push you to major sins. If he can't do that, he'll try to push you to minor sins. If he can't do that, he'll try to push you to things which are not haram and they're not halal. They're just permitted. And he'll try to make you waste time in that. If he can't do that, he'll try to make you pick the lesser of the two evils. The lesser of the two goods. So you have two goods in front of you, he'll make you pick the lesser one. So this is an enemy, he doesn't get tired. And he's always trying to chase after you, he never gives up hope. And if he manages to make you fall into one of those categories, no doubt he's going to try to push you higher and higher and higher to the biggest of shirk. And the most beloved one to him is innovation. Because innovation is something that a person he's doing, he sees that he's getting reward for it. So how can you tell a person, brother, this is haram, don't do it. He said, bro, I'm getting rewarded for celebrating the Prophet's birthday. I'm getting rewarded. So what are you talking about? How is it haram? I'm just reading the Quran and that. I'm just saying, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. These stuff. Okay, we gather together, we do little things here and there. How's it haram? So the person is blinded because he thinks he's doing good. And that's the most beloved to Iblis. I would like to conclude with this, that Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu was asked by some people. They said to him, Ya Abul Hasan, sif lana ad-dunya. They said to him, Abul Hasan, describe for us the dunya. He said to them, shall I describe it in long detail or do you want it short? They said, give it to us in short. He said, halaluha hisab wa haramuha an-nar. That the halal of this dunya will be held account for it. And will be questioned for it. And the haram of it, anyone who indulges in it, the consequences of it is nar, the hellfire. So, in that short jumla, that is literally the dunya. To bring everything, I'll just conclude it with that, is that there are things which are halal for you to do. Do them, no problem, but you're going to be held account for it. Just remember. So be careful how you do it. And that which is prohibited, stay away from it. Because if you do indulge in it, then the consequences of it are the hellfire. Anything which I have said, which is wrong or incorrect, is from me and shaitan, and Allah and His Messenger is free from it. Subhanakallah wa bihamdik ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu minadh dhalimin.